I think you can start now.
Wait for a minute, 2 minutes, and then I'll start, sir.
Okay, okay, because you will be also wasting your time if you wait.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Just 2 minutes, I'll wait. So, good morning, dear learners. So, last evening, we have discussed on the Black diaspora. Just I will take a brief on that, what we have discussed last evening. So, Black diaspora speaks about uh, entirely the slavery system of the diaspora formation, how they were being sold for the commodity, and how they formed the diaspora in other regions where they have sent us as sold as a slave for the commodity, especially in Europe, and some US and across the world, right? So there also there is evolution that nowadays the modern diaspora among the black is to migration for work, education, and opportunities. That's a 19th century scenario. That's what we have discussed last evening, and the black diaspora and definitions we have learned, and especially the African Union defines as the diaspora, recognize the diaspora as Africa's sixth region, emphasizing its role in African development, right? So they have five regions according to their continent and geographical location. So they consider Africans diaspora as a six regions, emphasizing its role in terms of remittance, African development contribution, and all those things. That's what uh, they believe, or the development of African continent takes place, particularly based on their diaspora formation too, and Atlantic slave trade, which is the major part of the uh, diaspora formation. Middle passage, brutal conditions, overcrowding, high mortality. That means the death rate has happened during that. And we have today we will discuss on the Indian Ocean slave trade. Uh, very important to understand the history of the Indian ocean slave trade, where the Indian Ocean Mahasamudram has been used for the slavery system. So that is called the Indian Ocean slave trade. So where the African slaves to the Middle East, North Africa, even in India, they were sent by the British colonial period. Connected to sugar plantation labor in regions like the Mascarenes Islands, and we discussed about the European colonial powers where the Portuguese, British, and Dutch were active participants. Right, so we were ruled, even in Africa and India, were ruled quite a decade of period by the European mm, colonist and even the Portuguese Dutch people, uh, and they developed a kind of a unique way of transporting the people by using the Indian Ocean, and so that it's the Indian Ocean slave trade. They named as Indian Ocean slave trade. Developed the kind of the unique way of trading the people or making them slaves and all those things because they were ruling the few continents across the globe and abolition of the slave trade very important uh, milestone when in the history of diaspora, in the history of migration, by ending the or abolishing the slavery system, right? So you see here it is slave trade is driven by religious, humanitarian, political movements, right? So when the religion looks into it, religious values, right, theological perspective, when you take all the famous sociologist Auguste Comte, so we move to the barbarian to the theological state, right? So, where the theological state speaks about a lot of ethics, values, customs, practices, respect human being, and all those things. So, the abolition of the slave trade, when we are moving from barbarian state to the a kind of humanitarian state. So we probably that might of the starting place where they have stopped the slavery system on a humanitarian based, and religious leaders, especially the Catholic popes, condemned the slavery as immoral, right? So that is a predominant area where the strongest religions during that period, right? So where uh, the Catholic Church itself says that don't do the slavery because a lot of the European countries that time during even in US were controlled mainly by the Pope, all right? So some states, some countries even needs the Pope approval to proceed their laws and all those things. So the statements of the Catholic popes had might have interfered a lot of the stopping of the slavery system. So humanitarian sentiments grew in Europe and America, and nations began outlawing the trade in the early 19th century. And this shift ending the slavery system, but they need the people to work in their plantation or sugar or whatsoever. So what they have to do, they have to legalize it. They have to come in a proper way of taking the people and giving them the benefit or proper salary or proper accommodation or taking uh, the entire family the shift. All those things as when they stopped the slavery system, even though there is a need of people to work, so what they have to do, they have to do come with a proper law to get the people from other countries. So understanding transatlantic slave trade. So what is transatlantic slave trade? Trans means one form to another form or moving from one to another, so involved forced migration of Africans of to the America, that is, and fueled the European colonies labor demands. So plantation is the Caribbean and, and Americas need the people. So millions displaced with a significant cultural impacts of on African descendant population today, right? So we even today Africa has a quite number or quite percentage of people of African origin, right? So that is main thing. And integral elements and triangular trade, that's goods, slaves, and commodities circulated across the continents. That is very much important. There is a triangular trade that is happening uh, in that is happening in and around. So slaves and commodities circulated together in different ways. And Middle Passage, a harrowing a journey of African slaves to the country. That's called a Middle Passage, right? Uh, so, what is the learned of the various Jews in Africa? Is the African diaspora spans a millennium, encompassing diverse majority faces, whereas because of their race and because uh, they want a cheap labor, they started a kind of forced migration. And the Atlantic slave trade remains its most impactful and studied aspect. And the modern African diaspora continues to contribute to global cultural and economic development. That is that evolution that we discuss now. So after 19th century, there is a huge impact or huge kind of a transformation that is happening in the African diaspora. That is, they started moving to across the globe for education, for migrate, for a job, better job, and all those things. So they started getting a better place in terms of evolution into it. So Asian diaspora, a very important diaspora, Asian diaspora, highly connected to us because we are from uh, a continent of Asia. Uh, so very important aspect, right? Just a minute. So when you talk about the Asian diaspora, so what comes to into our mind? So how people move and how this has taken place in Asia, right? So that's very important for us to understand. So the Asian diaspora involves the dispersion of people from, excuse me, okay. So dispersion of people. So we understood what is diaspora is all about. So South Asian diaspora and overseas Chinese diaspora. So when you say South Asian diaspora, over 550 million individuals, primarily from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, including Nepal, are South Asian diaspora. Overseas Chinese diaspora, approximately 40 million people with notable communities in Southeast Asia or Americas and Europe. So these are the people who are in Asia, Southeast Asia or in Americas and Europe, notable number of people. And reasons for migration, why people migrate, there is a push and pull factor which is pushing us towards to go some other places. Probably the push factors are political instability, right? So the migration will take place. That is the reasons why people migrate. We give a lot of examples that in Sri Lanka, that in Afghanistan, that in Iran and Iraq. There is if there is continuous political instability which is happening in Bangladesh, which is not controlled very soon, then it leads to a kind of migration to the greater level, right? And continuous poverty and lack of opportunities to get a better job, better education, access to infrastructure, and all those things leads to a kind of a push factor for to move forward or to migrate from one place to another, right? So the the pull factors, for example, economic opportunities, education, better living conditions. So that will pull. So people move from India to US. Probably these are the reasons, right? So when it's not normally the negative thing which is pushing us or pulling us to another places, sometimes is the positive, right? So we go to Europe. A lot of students are migrating to for education purpose if they get a job in a country where they get better education, they move, right? So South Asian diaspora, the historical migration spanning over 2,500 years, right? So uh, the early migration takes place East Africa and the Caribbean, and modern migration Western countries like US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Right. So these the countries people move, and phases of migration during the colonial era. People, millions of Indians became indentured laborers, working in plantation across the Caribbean, Mauritius, Fiji, and South Africa. New diaspora, it is migration driven by globalization, professional opportunities, skilled labor demands in Western countries. So these are the other reasons. These are the new evolution that is happening in the diaspora after 1960s. So we will learn of what is indentured labor and all those things. So contribution of South Asian diaspora, right? So significant remittances to home countries like India. So boosting foreign exchange and community development, right? Uh, these are the contribution, right? So cultural representation in medicine, technology, business, education, host countries. We now have called IKS, Indigenous Indian Knowledge System. All right. So, like that, we represent our uh, knowledge in medicine, knowledge in technology, knowledge in mathematics, business, education in host countries, right? Where we were, right? So, that is the economic and cultural transformation that is happening, which are the contribution of Asian diaspora. So countries like India have developed diaspora diplomacy and incentive policies to strengthen ties with their diasporic communities and global perception of their homelands, right? So we people, when we form a good diaspora in other countries, so we tend to have a kind of good perception on our homelands. It is because of uh, the well-to-do people doing their and contributing the economic development of the host countries, right? So that are the main thing which we will gain, and we will get a good look on our country, right? So the Asian diaspora, especially the South Asian group, is marked by historic migration, modern globalization-driven movements. The dual contribution, both the host and home countries, underline the global significance, right? So that are the benefits of uh, South Asia or Asian diaspora, and European diaspora, which is not like India or kind of black. Uh, it is people move European or well-to-do countries move not because they are slave or something, but to move because they are moving to for a better job or contributing to the higher level. So, core learning and objectives of that is the historical evolution of the European diaspora, understand the socio-political economic factors influencing migration waves, and explore the contribution current trends in the European diaspora. Right. So, what is the historical context? It is initiated during the colonial period, 16th, 17th centuries, economic opportunities in new colonies, religious freedom from groups like Britons. So there is a history where there is a Green Revolution, World War, and all those things where European countries are affected by that. So the freedom movement driven in 1990 or 19th century onwards, there is a kind of better transition in the Eastern Europe, and conflicts regions like Balkans are uh, being affected, and there is, as we have said, due to war or due to instability in the government, there the migration will take place. That is the reasons why there is a historical history is very important, and the wave that take place in a European continent is because of the World War One and Two and the post Cold War that happened immediately in 1990 onwards. So migration trends in the 20th and 21st centuries in intra-European migration, that is uh, happening inside the European countries, right? Part of the US. So there is a significant global migration to US, Canada, and Australia. So there is a diverse migrant categories: native Europeans without immigrant backgrounds, and European nationals with immigrant roots, like if they have come with the proper roots, right? Through example like Algerians, right? And when you see the US, when Trump has taken as a president, uh, so a lot of illegal migrants were sent to their homeland because the routes they have taken and all this. The route means there is a path, and they have migrated to their countries without in a proper route or approved route. So non-European nationals are often from former colonies, and EU nationals relocating within the EU, European uh, states, right, countries, and so the native Europeans with immigrant backgrounds have no issues, and European nationals with immigrant roots means that different countries or nations they come and go, and non-European nationals from other former colonies and EU nationals relocating within the EU. So these are the various categories or diverse migrant categories that is existing in uh, 20th, 21st centuries in the European states. So, what are the key contributions of the diaspora in this, right? So, significant remittances that bolster the home economics, investment and entrepreneurship supporting innovation and growth, and we have a political and social influence, advocacy, for homeland development, contribution to technological advancement, and cultural enrichment. So, global policy alignment we have, and we have the efforts like the UN 2030 agenda and Barcelona Declaration to recognize the diaspora role in sustainable development. So, how the European continent, European country moving towards, right? They have the declaration to recognize the contribution of the diaspora in the sustainable development. So, what is sustainable development? That is very, very important aspect. How the diaspora linked to the sustainable development. So, whatever they contribute, whatever they do contribute to the whole homeland, what is the sustainability? If they stop contributing, do the organization to go about it without by making their own profit or by making their uh, uh, what to say, their they will they stand on their own feet to proceed further. So sustainable development will take place. So that is also being ensured on the diaspora contribution, right? So key trends and modern insights that uh, we take out of this is that migration is no longer only outward. Europe is now a hub of both immigration and immigration. Means that there is uh, people move inside the country and go out of their country. So means that the European states itself, there is a lot of movement that is taking place. Crises like the Eurozone financial struggles continue to shape migration flows. So there is a diaspora engagement in terms of policies and mutual benefits, bringing the mutual benefits in the host and homeland, and enhancing the cultural and economic potential of the diaspora. All right. So those are the important trends that is happening in the European uh, and diaspora formation. Those that I initially told, it is European migration or diaspora formation. It's not just like us, like so Asia or in black, because or African continent. Let us use the term African continent, or it not in us, like not in because there is a kind of forced migration. But here also it's due to war, but there is no anyone to force heavily on them. You have to go and do work and all this. There is no control system. So here a lot of change, a lot of distinction when we compare to black and US or Black and Asian diaspora. So the European diaspora evolution underscores its profound impact on global migration patterns and development, as I have said, and they took a dual role as a contributor to host and home countries, highlights their ending global significance. Right. So this we discuss about the larger part of uh, the diaspora evolution that across uh, African, Asian, and European and diaspora, and as well as in the we started with Jews diaspora, right? So Jews, Black, Asian, and European diaspora. So these are very very important for the exam as well. But moreover, to understand the history perspective of uh, the diaspora formation is very important thing, right? Any doubt, anything? I will share the other slide. Okay. So debating nations and transnation. Okay. It's very important aspect. What is the transnation? Debating nation and transnations, right? So very important aspect. Just a minute, I just set the screen. Okay, all right. Okay. So what is nation and transnation? It's a nation defined as a collective noun that represents an aggregation of people bound together by special ties such as common language, literature, tradition, and shared history. That's very, very important. When you say nation, they have a common language, probably a religion or tradition or a system to where they are associated with, right? So there is a sense of unity. So I am an Indian national, means that I am belong to India, right? So according to various definitions, it can be described as a people descended from a common stock or as a body of individual inhabiting a defined territory with a shared identity and collective experience, right? So, the famous sociologist J. Smith says that nation encompasses the identity formed by political antecedents and national history and common recollections, right? So, what is the trans nation? So, nations probably we use this term in our day-to-day life, but what is trans nation is that it's a concept. It is not a kind of uh, us like a nation. It's a concept that extends beyond the conventional ideas of diaspora and cosmopolitan, highlighting the interconnectedness of identities and relationship formed through the movements of people across the borders. Very, very important. Transnational or translation is the connectivity, interconnectedness of identities and relationship. Right? We give simple examples. So I am working in Tamil Nadu, and I go to Delhi, uh, which is typically a different language, probably culture may differ. Uh, some culture may differ, dress code sometimes may differ, right? So these differences, I go frequently. I work 6 months there. I come to Tamil Nadu and I go again 3 months work there. And what is that happening here? There is a high amount of interconnectedness that is happening between Delhi and Tamil Nadu, right? In what are the ways? Probably by adopting the culture of people of Delhi, language, right? So various cultural national connectedness will happen. So this is called a traditional structure of the state, emphasizing the resilience and hope of individuals navigating their identities amidst displacement and change. Right. So I will bit navigate my identity. As well as I say that I am from this place, and all those things may happen. So different aspects of analysis is that when you say translations, forms of control, historical perspective, transition, tensions with cultural values, global economy and nation states, and power regimes and identity politics. So these are the four dimensions that has happened when we move towards transnational. So significance of nation and transnation is that dual citizenship, that is the one thing, lies in their role in shaping the individual's identities and collective experience in the global context, right? And nations provide a framework for understanding shared heritage, governance, and cultural solidarity, while transition facilitates the movement and interaction of people across borders. Right? So ultimately, they highlight the ongoing negotiation between local and global identities in the interconnected world. So, safeguarding human rights. So that is very much important when we move to trans nations and all those things. So safeguarding human rights is a fundamental principle that underpins the dignity and freedom of individuals across the globe. So there are fundamental principles. Let us take an example: right to live. Right, if a right to live, it is a fundamental human rights. When I am in my mother's womb, right? It is started there, my right. So it encompasses the protection of civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights, ensuring that every person can live without oppression and discrimination, right? Unless until it disturbs others. So I have my right, not even liberty, my right to practice and earn and live my social life. The significance of human rights extends beyond national borders, promoting justice and equality for all, regardless of race, creed, and nationality. So, as the international landscape evolves, the commitment to safeguarding these rights remains essential for fostering peace and social value. So, when you move to nations towards transnation, so I go to different countries, I am a transnational, I have a dual or more than that citizenship. So, get am I going to be protected, or I am going to be safeguarded with my rights? There's a question mark, right? So, where if I go to some other country and I contribute, but I am a very, very marginalized community over there in terms of national. So, how my rights are going to be protected, right? So, background of human rights is very, very important. Refers to those rights that are assured to us just being a human, right? And thus the subject of human rights are not members of this or that society, but of the community of humankind. So you are in the humankind. You are not. So human rights is not because you are Indian, because you are a particular religion, or no. Human rights should be ensured so that severe action is taken sometimes when foreigners are being assaulted in India or somewhere. So there is a severe action because both countries involved. Right. So human rights are not just theoretical; they are recognized standards of which government are to be held accountable. Right. That is very important uh, to understand. Governments are to be held accountable. So these are five basic tenets underlying human rights as they apply to all people. Like it's a universal, inalienable, interconnected, indivisible, and non-discriminatory. Right? You cannot divide it. You cannot uh, just remove from one person to another. So, scope of human rights is that these are three categories: civil and political rights, economic, social, cultural rights, and solidarity rights. So, these are the three important rights, right? Civil and political rights. You have uh, as a citizen, as a person, normal persons, you have a lot of rights, right? So to practice, to vote, to uh, protect your well-being and all those things. So political rights uh, to vote at a minimum, political right to contribute to the nation. All those things you have a political right, economic and social cultural rights you have, and solidarity rights, and civil rights, the right to equal protection and under the law, the right to be free from arbitrary detention, the right to fair trial. So if you go to court and all those things, you have a fair trial, right to an impartial jury. The freedom of religion and worships are the major civil rights. And the political rights, we have the freedom of expression and speech, the right to self-expression and association, the right to vote and participation in politics. So you have the economic rights. Social and economic rights include family right, the right to education, the right to health and well-being, the right to get asset, the right to work, the right to get salary, and all those things. Right? Economical rights, cultural rights, the right to the benefits of culture, the right to indigenous land, rituals, and shared cultural practices, the right to speak one's language and mother tongue education, are the basic cultural rights that a person has. Okay. So the diasporic concerns on human rights is that diasporic concerns refers to the issues faced by individuals and communities who live outside their homeland, right? So the challenges they faced in terms of political, economic, and social factors and rights, right? So understanding these concerns is vital for fostering supportive policies and frameworks that promote the well-being of diaspora population. So diaspora and nation states, right? So it is furthermore interaction between diaspora and nation states influences both cultural, political landscapes, reshaping ideas of belonging to the community. That is a diaspora and nation states meaning. And complexities in Indian diaspora, that is, Indian diaspora arise from its diverse social, economic, and cultural background. So it's very, very important because we ourselves we have a diverse religion, practices, customs, values, and all those things. So, economic challenges, issues such as discrimination, economic challenges, and struggle for cultural identity often characterize lives abroad. So, additionally, the Indian diaspora engagement in political and economic affairs in both host countries in India can lead to redefinition of their role and sense of belonging, highlighting the intricate interplay between the individual's aspiration and the broader diaspora narrative. So, diaspora and conflict, we know very well that diaspora and conflict involves the way in which diaspora communities are impacted by the conflicts in their homelands, often leading to tension and division within these communities abroad too, right? So, such conflicts exacerbate existing ethnic, religious, and cultural divides and leads to a lot of problems. So, additionally, diaspora communities may engage in advocacy, fundraising, or lobbying efforts related to the conflict. So, they start getting money to put into conflicts or communal riots. So, while also facing challenges like discrimination or backlash in host countries, right, which happen in Canada. So, Indian diaspora and politics. So, the interactions gatherings have a variety of purposes. They realize ties in India and encourage diaspora, especially the Korean Chinese diaspora, to invest in India's growth story. So, it established diaspora political presence in the host nations. We discussed on how soft power. So, it increases India's soft power by combining its with the diaspora growing political presence, creates a coherent diplomatic leverage. It contributes to strengthening the system of economic to a network that spans the globe, can exert considerable backdoor leverage when necessary. Right. So ethics of home and hostland citizenship, belonging, and identity. So citizenship increasingly viewed as an area that intersects with concepts of belonging and identity, challenging traditional notions tied solely to territoriality. And we have access and inclusion. So ethical consideration arise regarding who is granted citizenship and who is excluded. So that access and inclusion is very much important. The need for inclusive policies that recognize diverse background and experiences. That is the ethics of home host uh, citizenship. So transnational obligation with the globalization, individuals often have allegiances to multiple nations, promoting discussion about the ethical responsibilities of citizens toward both their home country and host country. Equity and justice. So this ethics surrounding citizenship also involve kind of uh, regardless of their citizenship status and particularly among marginalized communities. So equity and justice is a big question mark both in host and homeland as country like India. So these are the various kind of how to say uh, we need to look into the different aspects of analysis, right? So as this diagram will gives you the entire picture of the forms and control, uh, almost the the issues related to the homeland. Um, what is these nations and transnations, right? When we are moving from nation to transnation, how we need to look into the power regimes and identity politics and a kind of uh, uh, the 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 nations and transnations concept we need to understand first of all, and the issues related with the transnations, right? The uh, how we the marginalized communities are facing the problem when we are as we are uh, less in numbers, especially, right? And significance of nation and transnation and the importance of safeguarding the human rights, the fundamental human rights across the globe. That is very important to prop the formation of the diaspora. Right? We study because the human rights and other aspects, because the formation of diaspora is based on the human rights, right? So when we are given a proper rights, the rights on civil and political, economic, social, and cultural rights, and solidarity rights means that so I can be among the people whom I wish to be, right? If there is a question mark, then well, how to form a diaspora in other countries if they are not giving the solidarity rights. Let us imagine the country A is not giving the solidarity rights, so you can come and work, you cannot form any kind of group or community, then how you can do it? So that the UN and United Nations gives very clearly the three categories or universal rights, right? Civil, political, economic, social, cultural rights, and solidarity rights, right? So these we need to learn as a fundamental things altogether. So any questions? A nice topic here.
The rest, when it is completed, you just close from your side. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sure.